I know it seems like I do one of these videos every 6 months where I go through my setup and show you how my mic is set up and all that, but I'm getting a lot of questions lately as to how I have everything set up, including the settings on my GoPros. So today we're going to look at my helmet, GoPro settings, and I'm going to explain exactly how I get things to work and look and sound the way I do in all my videos. Welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, I'm primarily a motovlogger, but it's a rainy week here, so I'm kind of catching up on viewer questions and answering those via more videos because it's better to show than just tell, right? So we're going to start with the helmet. Ooh, I'm getting an echo talking into this, but you can see the mic cable runs out right here. Ta-da, there it is. There's the mic cable. Can I get it in focus? Yes, I can. It's in focus. I think it is. Anyway, mic cable comes around to the purple panda, which is right here inside the microfiber with the dead cat. Get that in focus. Come on. There you go. If I scratch down, you can see it. Look at that. So dead cat microfiber zip tied on, full length. It just covers it. I know I did the whole thing where folding the microfiber back made for a slightly cleaner sound, but I got a little more wind noise than I liked. And then I used a plug-in to fix that. And I did a review on it, but I'm going to real quickly show it later. Anyway, that's the helmet. It's a one and done setup. So when the Hero 12 is in the side mount, and by the way, if you ever look at my video descriptions, I have a ton of Amazon affiliate links so that you can buy this stuff for yourself and try out, and it helps support the channel. So please do so if you feel inclined. No extra cost to you, whatever. Amazon makes me say that. Anyway, if you're ever watching one of my videos and you like what you see or hear, there's links to all that stuff down there, including the Davinci Resolve playlist, so you can recreate my setup for yourself. Whew, that's hard to say. Anyway, when this bad boy is in here and it just clips in on the side, push down the rubber bit right there, and then it's good. It focused over there. What the heck? Once the GoPro's in there, it's plugged in to the media mod, right? Because we've got a Hero 12 in a media mod with a max lens mod. Come on. I'm watching the focus box. There it is. Yes. Max lens mod 2.0, media mod, same one they've used for the 9, 10, 11, and 12. And this is the one I've had since like day one. I have two of them, but this one, the rubber flap on the back isn't broken. Come on, rubber flap. Where is it? Focus. Focus. There you go. The rubber flap isn't broken on this one. So yay. That's the helmet cam. It's set up. I stopped to do battery swaps. No big deal. And then I'm back up and running, and I don't have the weight of a battery pack on here or any wires dangling anywhere. So if I want to go out with a one cam setup, cam is short for camera, industry terms, professional. I need less coffee. Anyway, it's all boom, one camera done. I'm good. But when two cameras is the minimum, which is most of the time, admittedly for me, I have the Insta360 Bullet Time selfie stick. It's the Bullet Time selfie stick, so it's reinforced. And I've got it on an adapter from the threads to the GoPro fingers, and then I put my Hero 10 on top of it. Good to go. Pretty easy, right? And this one has a Max Lens Mod 1.0 on it. So they're both horizon locked and all that stuff. We'll go into that in the settings in just a minute. But that's the basic two cam setup, and it's great. It lets me hide jump cuts, and it lets me hide flubs in whatever sentences. I do a lot of trickery in Resolve. It's good fun. I enjoy the editing process. But when I get home, I sync everything up in Resolve. I showed you in a multicam tutorial, hint, hint, how to do that. It's easy. You can do it in the free version, no big deal. And once it's synced up, boom, you're editing, you're slicing and dicing, you're julienning. You're a Ginsu steak knife from the 1990s. Good fun. So let's take a look at the settings for each of my cameras. And I'm going to skip the 8 because honestly, I don't really use it anymore. It's a webcam. I don't even know what the settings are. It's sitting right here underneath the Nikon, and there we go. So we're going to start with the Hero 12. You can already see it's in max video mode, 16:9, 4K 30 with the wide lens. I did some tests with the Super View and all that, and I found them to be too wide. But moving through our settings, you can see again the 16:9 and the 4K and the 30 frame rate. And then we go to horizon lock. It's turned on because I like my footage to be leveled. And then hyper smooth is set to on. I really like the way that the hyper smooth does when it's set to on and not auto boost. I find that it tends to not delay a head turn as much. So I get a more realistic movement of the footage, even if it's not 100% stable. But moving on, all the other stuff is standard there until we get to Pro Tune. You can see I have the shutter on auto, EV comp to 0, white balance is auto, and then my ISO min and max are 100 and 600. And let me pause here. Sharpness is set to high. If you're sharpening in your editor, Resolve or Premiere or whatever, that might work out well. But in my case, I want it to be sharp to begin with. It's just my preference, and I've gotten some compliments on it, so I don't change it. By default, this is set to medium, and so you're going to want to change that to high. But then I have the color set to natural. And this is what I tried to achieve with my color grading and making all the footage from all the different cameras look the same. I never quite got it to look the way I did because I'm not a professional colorist, and I honestly didn't feel like spending the time to make it any better. So I abandoned that, and I used the Hero 10 and 12 together, which both have the natural color profile, so they automatically look pretty darn close. They do have different sensors, but it's close enough. Anyway, moving on, you can see my shortcuts here. These are the things that I need to change the most often, and it's going to be basically lens and settings, which I don't really change much, but the horizon lock I've turned on and off, and then upper right, which is max hyper smooth. I've tinkered around with it. I spent some time playing with that. Did you see that video? Here's a hint. Go watch that and come back here afterwards. The big one comes when you swipe right on the preferences screen and you go in there and you scroll down to video. Yeah, when you get into that menu system, you're going to want to set the bit rate to high and the bit depth to 10. And that gets you, I think, the best color out of the Hero 12. I have really been quite happy with the image quality coming out of the 12 with these settings. Moving on to the Hero 10 here. Yes, I'm showing it again. It's a prop. It draws your attention in. You want to see it. Ooh, it's not even focusing on it. I'm just confusing the Nikon at this point. Let's go through the Hero 10's settings. Again, note my excellent cinematography, but we have to click on the max video icon and then go into the settings for that. You can see it's at 2.7K 30 and max super view. Why is that different than the 12? Because I want to show more of what's around me when the camera is facing me. So for that, I have the super view to show the scenery going on around me, and the 2.7K is just the maximum resolution that the Hero 10 will record with a max lens mod on it. If you noticed earlier, that Hero 12 is at 4K. The Max Lens Mod 2.0 allows that. But in this case, we have Max Hyper Smooth on standard, Horizon Lock is on, and everything else should be standard. And we're going to move down to our Pro Tune settings, and it's the same setup as the 12. The bitrate is high, the shutter is auto, EV comp is 0, white balance and ISOs and all that. They're the same. It makes the footage look as close to each other as possible, and that's the goal here. Moving down the list of Pro Tune settings, you can once again see that sharpness is high, color is natural, everything else is set in stone. And then my shortcuts. We have the lens, horizon lock, EV comp, and color. So very similar to the 12. Now it's time for my little running gun buddy. This one doesn't have the natural color profile. So as you'll see in a minute, I shoot it in flat, and then I bump up the contrast and the saturation a little bit in Resolve, and I'll show you how to do that shortly to as closely mimic the 10 and 12 as I can get. So again, we have 2.7K 30 as our resolution and frame rate. Again, max super view as the lens. Max hyper smooth is on, horizon lock is on. I want everything nice and level, and it's all gonna match what the 10 did. And then we have my shortcuts. It's just lens, horizon lock, and EV comp, which I used to change for my color grading, but I don't anymore. And just for grins, it's very similar to the 9, but we also have the Hero Max in here. There's far fewer settings in the Max menu system, but I'm shooting at 5.6K 30 as my resolution and frame rate to get the best quality. And then in Pro Tune, it's basically automatic everything, except sharpness again is set to high. You lose a lot in the 360 anyway. I have this one set to GoPro color. which I don't tend to like because it's over-contrasted, oversaturated. But at the same time, for some reason, the footage just looks better if I take it into Resolve and then knock those down a little bit instead of bringing them up. It has to do with the way that these two lenses are situated on the camera. You can see that they are off center of each other. So what'll happen is they pick up slightly different images. If it's rolling down the road this way and the light is over there, this lens will get a lot of light. This lens won't. And GoPro Color just tends to fix that. Now we've recorded the footage, I'm going to show you my audio processing stack, as I call it. Since we have a nice pristine timeline, we're going to change audio 1 to voice, because I know it's going to be my voice. And then we're going to go to effects. We're going to scroll down to VST effects over here. If you don't see it, click on effects there. Audio effects, VST effects. We're going to drag clarity on. I already did a review on that. And we're going to set it to Street Glide, which is 70%. There, that's one. Then the second one, I'm going to drag in my dialogue processor. And from default, we're going to go to Male VO and disable derumble. Close that out. Go back to VST effects. And we're going to go in and grab one knob brighter. And we're going to set that to Street Glide low, which is about 1.5. And now I'm set up for a motovlog. So there, that's that. If I'm doing a talking head, I'll go to the Fairlight tab, double click on the EQ for my voice track, and I will select Porch Talking Head Road Video Micro. And you might want to freeze frame this and take a look at it, but I've just tweaked the Male Lav Finisher just a little bit. I've brought this up a little bit to get a little extra bass without rattling anything. So if I go back to this one, you can see it's a little bit higher for the number 3. And the other difference is, going back to the Edit tab, for a talking head, instead of one knob brighter, I'll bring in Reverb Stereo, and I will select Porch Road, which is 50%. And all that does is get rid of some of the reverb, because this whole room is full of nothing but hard surfaces. Now let me show you real quick how I tinker with the footage in Resolve to make it look a little bit better. So here we are in Resolve. I've got a Hero 9 clip and a GoPro Max clip. And we're going to go into the color tab for this one. And already it doesn't look too bad, but we're going to go to the color tab and we're going to tweak 2 settings. We're going to click on this color wheels icon right here. And then we're going to take the contrast up to about 1.1. And then we're going to bring our saturation up just a little bit. And now it's been fixed from flat to color and it looks pretty good. And then over here, if I Control D to disable this, you can see that the colors are just a little bit brighter and better. We've added some of that contrast in. So like the tree here just looks a little bit more realistic instead of being so flat. And if you really want to go crazy, we can bump the contrast up to about 1.2 and our saturation down just a hair. If you go crazy with it, this is what it looks like when you run like GoPro color mode. But if you undo those, Control Z, we can see that now it looks pretty close to the other clips that I record from my Hero 10 and 12. Then we can do the same thing to our Hero Max footage. This is exported and it looks flat, but in this case it's GoPro Color, so we want to drop the contrast down to about 0.9 and our saturation down to about 47. And if we go back to the Edit tab and we apply our reframing to it, if I go in and change the parameters on that real quick, we'll just grab this and yank it over. Now you can see that looks pretty good. Let's go full screen with that. It's not bad. It's a little bit dark because it was a very overcast day. But honestly, if we just go in and bring up our shadows a little bit, wow, that really makes a big difference, doesn't it? You can bring it up and then boom, this footage looks ready to rock and roll. The last step to this is going to be, how do we render the video? So we're going to hop back into Resolve and I'm going to show you my personal render settings, what I find to work best for me. Feel free to try them out at home, tinker with them, find something that works better for you. The idea here is to have the best quality with the least amount of loss in the compression of your video. Obviously, you're not going to want to upload 50 gigabyte files to YouTube, but if you do and you have high-speed internet, have at it. I want something that's kind of in the middle because YouTube's going to stomp all over it with their compression anyway. A talking head video like this looks pretty good because there's not a ton of on-screen movement. But if I move stuff really quick, you can see there's going to be artifacting and stuff. So let's go back into Resolve. I'll show you my render settings and then we're going to wrap this one up. So here we are in the render tab of Resolve, and I've got a preset here called 2.7K best. I leave all my timelines at 2.7K and I edit them to that. If I include actual GoPro Max 360 footage, I will do 4K, but it's basically the same settings. I'll give it a file name, a place to store it, and then let's go through our settings. My format is QuickTime. My codec is H.265. Since I have the studio version of Resolve, it will render it using my NVIDIA graphics card. You can choose auto or native or whatever else, but I like H.265. It has a fairly small file size, but the quality is pretty high. And then you can see I have a custom resolution. This matches the GoPro 2.7K. Another side benefit of this is if you're recording in 4K and then editing and rendering at 2.7, Resolve will actually take your footage, and when you zoom in, you don't lose the details that you would normally lose if you zoomed in 2.7K on a 2.7K timeline. And yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And then we have quality set to best, so it's the best that Resolve will give us. Everything else should be defaults. For audio, I make sure it's linear PCM, 48,000 sample rate, and a bit depth of 24. That's it. That's how I do all my videos. They all have the same recording frame rate and resolution. They all have the same editing timeline size, and those are my render settings. So now you know my GoPro settings. Now you know my Resolve settings. It's time for you to go out and create your own content. Have fun. And until next time, check out this video here. Yes, it's my editing workflow I did last year. It hasn't changed a whole lot. And I'll leave you with the two mantras. One, you have a 100% track record of making it through a bad day. And two, do something nice for yourself every day. John out.